Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and tonight's episode is less starship and more showboat. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
You a musical fan?
I've been known to enjoy a musical.
Sure, me too. Not as much as some of my friends. It maybe comes. I've been in a bunch of musicals, but
I've been known to turn my Spotify to private and then listen to musicals while I'm working. Yeah. But the people can't know, and it can't be in my Spotify Wrapped. It's under the radar.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You don't want that going into the end of year.
No, I can't have it. I can't have it.
I won't say when. I mean, it dates me, but when I was in theater school, of course, we listened to musicals and saw musicals because that was, what you do in theater school. Mm-hmm. But also, it was during that period when musicals were huge. I mean, they're still big now, but musicals and soundtracks and getting the tickets and all that, and it was really, really a big deal. And so, that's it's not exactly like Vietnam vet flashbacks, but it's a little bit like that. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, musicals. I forgot about that. But we'll talk all about that in a little bit. Welcome to the show. Let's talk a little bit of Star Trek news before we get into the discussion of tonight's episode. There's not a lot of Star Trek news, but I wanted to say that Canadian listeners, you did it. You made it, everybody. You're in luck. Star Trek will now be fully on the Paramount Plus service, Canada. So no more watching Star Trek on Crave. Coming up, it will soon be all available on Paramount Plus. So that's Season 1, the already aired episodes of Season 2. Discovery, Lower Decks, and Picard are already available there. I don't know why it's taken so long. I apologize for my American company that I'm responsible for in some way. But now you can join us. And also, really great news, all the rest of the Star Trek shows will be debuting as August goes into September. So TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, and TOS, all going to come out, even the animated series. So it's never been a better time to be a Paramount Plus Canada user. Join us on Mount Paramount. There's a Reno 911 guys over there.
The Reno 911.
I don't know what else is on Paramount.
Dora.
Yeah, Dora's over there exploring for something.
He's over there.
So that's really good news. There's some news that's good, but it's tempered with a little sadness, and that is that Jonathan Frakes was interviewed recently about his work on the finale of Star Trek Discovery. He directs the first part of the two-part finale for Discovery, and he talks about how it was bittersweet. About how he's always really enjoyed working on the show, and of course he's done a lot of good work on the show, and how the news basically kind of came through while they were filming. They didn't know that it was the finale. I'm sure it has, as a season finale, some finality to it, but they didn't really know that it was a series finale. That's when the word came down. And so the next episode, which is directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, they had to kind of go back and add they did a few extra days and got it in right before the strike thing came through, to give it a little more finality, whatever those scenes will be. So that was an interesting interview. He also, in talking about finales, he talked about his time on the Enterprise finale. These are the voyages. And he kind of bodied it a little bit. He was like, Yeah, that sucked. I didn't really even want to do it, and I felt bad for Scott Bakula and everybody else in this show. You know, you don't want to be a Star Trek show that doesn't make 7 seasons. But we thought we'd try to do something fun, and it was not fun, and so he feels bad about that. Um, Knowing now, as we do, that Discovery will be ending at the end of the 5th season, what do you think they added? What do you think those scenes might entail? It's only 2 or 3 days of filming, so they couldn't do much. We're gonna see like an elderly Burnham, saying, "And that's how I saved the Federation. You're welcome." Are we gonna see? Will they get back home to the 23rd century? Will they? Will she be reunited with Spock? What do you think will happen?
I mean, maybe just I would think maybe something implied if they do anything involving a return to their own time. I think it would be more implied than like explicit, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they spent time only adding 2 or 3 scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it's just going to be like some more clear stories on like where our characters are going.
Yeah.
Like even if it's just like them talking to each other, Saru and his
Sure.
and the president,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I don't. This isn't a future that I want for our characters necessarily, but there isn't any reason that they need to go away, and they could go back to the 23rd century, and they put a black, chevron down and go, "Welcome to Starfleet Intelligence" or "Welcome to Section 31," because a
Yeah.
guy like Luther Sloan, nobody knows who this guy is. If we need to keep the existence of the Discovery crew a secret, like they just disappeared, they could still be around. They don't have to go live like Thanos, in a wheat field somewhere. Um, and plus, you would just want to bring Michael Burnham. You want to bring Saru and Tilly. Like we like these characters. They're working actors. There's no reason that they couldn't come back in some way. So I hope that it's not like, yeah, we did 2 or 3 more days to blow up the ship and everybody on it. Like I hope there isn't like a finality like that.
They all
But
die. That's the finale.
yeah, right. They all take poison, Hemlock Grove or whatever it
They
is.
all drink the Kool-Aid.
Uh, so yeah, bittersweet news, but of course we will cover the 5th season of Discovery when it comes out. But that's for later. That's for the future. We are talking about the 9th episode of the 2nd season of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds tonight. An episode called Subspace Rhapsody. We're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning: we're setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners. We're glad you've joined us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers will be involved. The official synopsis for Subspace Rhapsody is an accident with experimental quantum probability field article Anne field causes everyone on the USS Enterprise to break uncontrollably into song. But the real danger is that the field is expanding and beginning to impact other ships, allies, and enemies alike. The episode was written by Dana Horgan and Bill Wolkoff. It was directed by Dermot Downs. Dermot Downs, this is his first Star Trek episode, but it's interesting to note that he directed the musical episode of The Flash, Duet, which was a crossover with Supergirl and that universe. The episode stardate is 2398.3, provided to us by Uhura. And a little extra trivia. This is, of course, the first official Star Trek production to be a musical. 10 original songs are written for the episode by Kay Hanley and Tom Pulse. Kay Hanley is a singer and musician who is the frontwoman for the band Letters to Cleo, and she has contributed also songs for a variety of shows and cartoons. And Tom Pulse is a composer and a producer who's composed music for a variety of primetime shows, and he also wrote the songs for the CW series Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. This episode reveals that Captain Girlfriend's first name is Marie, and Bruce Horak, once again, comes back. Great to have him back. He plays a Klingon named Garkog. I'm assuming sub-commander or something like that. What'd you think? What'd you think about Subspace Rhapsody? And you have to sing it, so go ahead.
And I have to sing it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought realistically, logically even, that the best that I could hope for was something a little kitschy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we got. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah,
It made me laugh. One of my roommates, we had a little like watching party, and it was super fun and just like interesting and funny. I think musical episodes are pretty hard to pull off.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to watch like these film actors try to like the choreography, whether it's dancing or just like walking or the way that they're moving.
Yeah.
I think it's funny to watch them sort of attempt to half. It seems like they're always given direction to like theater act to the camera, which is always very bizarre versus like a more like cinematic style of musical, you know, like there are
Yeah.
plenty of musicals on film where people aren't like, you know, like going like this all the time, but
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty fun. I thought they did a good job. I think that they're pretty lucky in that it seems like the cast, although I think a lot of them could have had more stronger performances if they had been able to spend a few more hours in vocal coaching, vocal lessons. I think they needed some vocal lessons and then they would have been really strong,
Yeah.
but
There was
they did a pretty good job.
a pleasing paucity of auto tune. I think that I'm sure that, you know, the cast is, I mean, they'd be in musical, you know, the productions if they were, you know, out and out singers, but I think that they were all very, very strong
Mm-hmm.
and at least passable. Yeah, I was thinking about that specifically during one of the numbers that was kind of like one of the linchpins of this is like how you would pitch, I think, the idea of this, and that was Lon's number, changing my paradigm, and how, you know, Christina Chong is such a good actor. She's playing.
She's really amazing.
She's playing this role that is. There's a lot of roles like this on the Enterprise in this era. I realize like people like, no, I'm like really stoic and I don't do or say much, but she's like really letting it out. But you're seeing the difference between, like you said, the sort of musical theater acting and the TV acting, and you get this in movie musicals too. I'm not talking about like Cats, obviously that's just, you know, to the moon, but like your Les Mis, you know, actors are suddenly like, oh, you know, they're acting really big, and we just expect that from musicals, but you don't see that in Star Trek a lot. So that was a little jarring, but I think it goes with the territory of what they're doing. Something that I've seen as a criticism, and I've just looked around a little bit before we talked about this, is that the one thing that people say is like, the premise is a little thin, and I agree. I think that it's, you know, if you want to do a musical, you just do a musical. Like nobody really questions that. Everybody compares this to the Buffy episode. Nobody questions that Willow casts a spell, it goes wrong or something, and now everybody's singing, and nobody goes, yeah, but would Willow really cast that spell? We don't care about that. But I thought that they could have dug into the premise a little more, because it turns out that they just need to have like good feelings, and that's going to fix everything. And it's kind of like prosaic. I suppose maybe it fits with a lighter episode, but I thought, why is there diegetic music like when they're like hearing songs, like when they're singing, you know, like you said before, they're being compelled to like dance, so like some of them can dance. There's a couple ringers, you know, that run through the hallways and they're doing all the things and stuff
Yeah,
like
well,
that.
even just like the way like when they're walking and a song is starting, I'm like, come on, man,
Suddenly
it's
they're,
okay.
yeah,
Suddenly they're like, they're not quite moving the right way.
right, yeah. And is that like a compulsion, or is that just something they're doing because you expect
that's
this?
actually a good read.
Do you know what I
it's
mean?
Like they're not trying to sing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why am I doing this with my hands? You know, like, is it something like that, or? And the episode just doesn't really worry about that. But like, if are they connecting to the Cole Porter dimension? You know, is that what they've done, or is there like, are there aliens on the other side of the rift who do act and they do everything in song, and we're sort of picking that up? The premise is just like, yeah, let's just get to it. Let's just start singing, which is fine.
I kind of like in a musical episode almost when it is not like, I thought it was kind of cute how they did it, but I like when it's not addressed. I like when they're just like, it's a musical episode. Like, did you watch Psych?
No.
Okay, Psych had a musical episode that was honestly like really good.
Huh.
Like I thought it was fantastic. And as far as I remember, they don't give any, they're not like, we have to sing because there's a criminal with us that will only give us clues if we're singing. It's like not that. It's just like, it's a musical.
That sounds great. The singing detective. Yeah.
Which I think is great. I mean, obviously this one was fun. I loved I think the opening number was the strongest by far. I wish that they had saved some of that for the very end. I don't know. Do you agree?
I thought that the strongest number, or at least the one. First of all, I thought they were all really good. I think some of them, and this happens in musicals, were like, this is a 4-minute long song because somebody's changing their clothes. Some of them were a little bit fillerish, but I thought that the lawn one was pretty strong, and I liked it because it went to character.
Well, her acting, she's so amazing, and I was I was thinking really about that during that scene because I was like, she is one of the only ones who it's like a lot of them, you can tell that they're not in their prime, they're like that, or rather that they're like film actors who are now doing something phenomenally different that they have not really trained for.
Yeah.
And like everyone did a great job, but there's something about her which I think is like just maybe like a fearless quality that really good actors have sometimes, where it's like she just is comfortable on camera doing anything. It's all those close-ups.
Yeah.
Just like amazing.
Yeah. That was good. I thought that the chapel number was pretty good. Although we got to talk. Let's just do it now. We got to talk about Christine Chapel and her character. Assuming that these emotions are only...
They fooled us.
Are only magnified by the musical phenomenon, and they're not being like crazy gassed here. Apparently... she's just like, sorry, Spock, you're done. I got a cool job I'm gonna go do. Like, she's the one who's like kind of leaving him. And at the end of the episode, he ices her. Like, he's just everybody's happy.
I don't know. I was like, no.
But yeah, apparently after all this hemming and hawing, she's like, oh, I got a new job. Oh yeah, I have a boyfriend. Well,
Right.
So it's like, oh wow.
Well, they discussed it on screen. They didn't label it. They didn't tell their superior officers.
Yeah.
Like, Spock, I think, also made it kind of clear that it was almost an experiment for him. Like, he was like, I want to explore my human feelings.
Sure.
And I want to do that with you,
Sure. And it's also possible, and again, if we'd had more than 10 episodes, I think we could show this more, but it's also possible that she's just mercurial in her affections, Spock will well know in later years that sometimes wanting something is not, or having something is not so good as wanting it. And so maybe she's like, it was fun, but I'm moving on. But that's it. Now,
well, she's going to be gone for like, what, 3 months?
Well, here's what I'm worried about. They're bringing the Dr. Corby thing in. So presumably she spends enough time with him to fall in love, to become engaged, to kind of put that on hold because she's called back to the Enterprise. So if Jess Bush leaves this show, we riot. I don't know what to say. Like, they better just go yada, yada, yada. She comes back, because I don't want to see this show without her. But
no.
But I like the fact that the best songs, I thought, were the ones where things were really moving forward for the characters. And I love the fact that they said we could just have you go, oh, I've got a dribble in my pants, or the songs could have been totally dumb, but they were like about the characters, even the ones that didn't matter so much. Like number 1 and Kirk talking about being a first officer. I don't know. It didn't do much for me. All right. With this episode, we've done it. 4 episodes. He has now been on 22% of the show. Garrick only appeared on 21% of DS9. Kirk is just a character on this show now. He is just one of the cast.
I said to my roommate when he stood up during the finale song, and he said something about how,
hey everybody,
he realized, and I said, this isn't your ship. He's acting like a clown.
Somebody's got to make a joke about how they'll get his regular quarters ready or something like that.
See, I know, it's like he's on some ship that isn't his ship. He's got Carol pregnant on a starbase. Like, what are we doing?
I know.
I think there's maybe some like bylaws in Starfleet for if like your squeeze is pregnant that you can go to the starbase. Like...
Right, yeah. I'll check in like once a trimester, yeah. And I really liked Spock's song, and it was like, it's cheesy because it's like, oh, he's gonna sing about math, but it's like it just works, he's
I thought it was good.
He's the X. Uh, it's almost one of those like I solve for y in my computation, and it's just like, oh, that's so terrible, but that's so good.
I
That's the
know.
kind of cheese that I'm looking for.
I know, we were laughing, but like in a good, like I felt like I was like laughing with it, like it was funny in like a good, like
Yeah,
kitschy bad way.
yeah.
I
And
don't
I
know.
thought that scene, and really most of the episode was really directed well by the director.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where we might have gone too far, and the best example would be the Klingon song.
I was gonna say,
Do you
not the
do you remember? This is a while ago now, but when Star Wars had kind of finished or was finishing its run of the not the sequels, the prequels, right? And like Star Wars was back, and it was like, we're gonna sell so much stuff to all these people. The Xbox Kinect had a dancing game, and it was like a Star Wars dancing game, and they had Han Solo dance to the "I'm Han Solo" song, and he's like, he's like doing the dance, and he's doing all this stuff, and you're just like, this is not what I want. Or like when you go to Disney, to the Star Wars park, and Darth Vader comes out, and there's a bunch of stormtroopers, and then the stormtroopers like, hey, and they like start crumping, and then Darth Vader's like raising the roof, and you're like, nah, this ain't it. that's how I felt about the Klingon thing. They could have sang Klingon opera, like you've got Milota, you've got that in the universe, but they're like, yeah, this is like kind of like a white rap thing. It's just.
I thought they were trying to do like a boy band bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was a little funkier than everybody else's
shocking.
song.
Shocking and confusing.
But yeah, that was a little rough. But the rest of it was was pretty good. I'm ready. That was Chapel's song. That was pretty good. Also, it was really long. Like it was.
Well, and Chapel's song was one where I was like, could we have gotten her in with a voice coach for like 3 more hours?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's, and maybe this is the most, I don't want to be like an asshole, because like they have full time, they don't have time to, it's one episode, what are they gonna take a month of vocal lesson? But it's like, I just felt like, I did think it was really good. I thought it was so close to being frankly worthy of my secret musical songs that I listen to while I'm working playlist.
Sure.
The opening number certainly will be.
I thought it would have been perfectly fine for some of them to not be able to sing. Do you know what I mean?
Like, do you think that the guy who plays Mbenga,
maybe he doesn't?
Do you think he for real cannot sing?
we all have opinions on his voice, so it's possible. I doubt that he's like, oh, check that out. And then he's like, oh, like I doubt that he's got a beautiful. It's like Mel Torme. He's got a beautiful singing voice. But I think it would have been fine for. Again, this is like if you dig into the premise a little more, maybe you've got a character. Because first of all, I was like, all right, I know that like Spock is like experimenting with emotion, but if emotion provokes the musical, why does he sing at all? And I wouldn't pick that to lose his great song. He has
emotions.
I know he has emotions, but like, what about this is bringing that out? Like, he probably would not sing so much. And then also, I think it would have been fine. It would have been interesting to have like a character who can't carry a tune or has a terrible voice, and so they feel frustrated,
forcing them to sing.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And yeah, there should have been more bits. There was the bit. There was like one more bit. Bits? No, I mean more like bits about like, because they literally come back from break, and Pike's like, so that happened. Don't.
I know.
I will stab every writer that writes that.
Well,
maybe this is post-strike.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Right. Yeah. But like they're going, it's our prime directive to be connected. Spock's like, actually, that's not really what our prime directive
is. Not exactly.
Yeah. So like more stuff like that. And if it's that long, I think you can fit that in. I thought, because when I heard that there was 10.
Maybe you're right about Spock. It would have been a good bit if he was like, well, as for me, I'm Vulcan, I can control my emotions, and or the whole bit when they're like, I have no emotions.
Yeah.
And then not sing for like a very long time and then have like one big number.
Maybe he does a spoken word piece. he grabs his lyre. Now some Foggy Mountain Breakdown. Yeah. But I kind of like when I heard there was 10 songs, I was like, so are they gonna talk and sing? Will they sing the whole time through, or they'll be talking? And like even the scene where Lon and Kirk, like she finally tells him, and they have that connection. It would have been difficult to sing all of that, but I think that they should have gone for it. I think that they should have not just said, okay, now no more silliness. We're going to have a character moment. It's like these can all be character moments, but like him, how do you sing like, I got a girl pregnant. I can't go out with you. Like maybe that would be too tough. I don't know. Beyond the scope of Letters to Cleo.
Les Mis style where they're like, it's all one note. They're talking, but it's all on one note.
Don't do that.
I also think it would have been cute if have you heard Something Rotten? It's a musical like about Shakespeare.
I don't think so.
Well, there's
I'm surprised I haven't.
There's a number in it. It's actually really good. There's a number in it. I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's called like The Musical or something. Musicals. That's just like, here's what a musical is.
Okay.
And I feel like that also could have been like relevant and possibly also relevant as to explaining what they needed to do.
Yeah. doing that in song instead of them literally just saying musical.
It's a musical.
And people, why do people sing in a musical? Because they've
ship-wide number.
They've reached a point where they need to express their emotions. It's like that's subtext. Like put some text on top. And I thought that there should have been
some text on top.
There should have been one time warp or one Star Trekking through the universe. There should have been like one gag number where it's like, it's an Andorian here and a Horta there, or just make fun of your world and the crazy like world that you're in. Yeah. But that we can do that the next time because I'm sure there's going to be more of these. What other shows do you think would be good with a musical in Star Trek? And before you answer, before you prep that answer, I've seen all the articles saying Alex Kurtzman has wanted to do this for a while. Okay, that's cool. But Ron Moore talked about doing this when he was on DS9. Like he wanted to do a musical episode, but he's like, I'll never get it past the thing. And he also said, I don't really care what it's about. A virus comes out of the wormhole and then Terry Farrell's singing or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So I think this has been cooking for a long time in the Star Trek universe.
I was going to say DS9, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I think they would have done
a lot of good singers in the DS9.
A lot of good singers, and I think they would have done like the stuff that we've been talking about. Like they would have been like, and that you would have had like, there's just so many good bits to do. There's the, I'm just a tailor. Like Garrett could have his own song. Like it would be. Can you imagine how much he would have eaten that up?
Stop everything. We're gonna write this right now. I got my pen. We're gonna.
Can you imagine how much he would have absolutely eaten that up? Like please.
Quark's doing a Thenardier-esque thing about his bar. He's overcharging people for this.
No, he's like setting down glasses on the beat.
Yeah. Oh, now I want this. Maybe we can crowdfund this and get this to happen with the
one of the musical cast. One of the numbers ends with like somebody's winning Dabo. So somebody just finished like belting like Dabo, and then all the noise of the station fades back in. Please
throw in the air. I love it.
Paramount. My number is 6517.
Yes. What else? Oh, okay. Let's talk about Captain Maria. Now we can give her a name. When are they gonna put this to bed? Come on. These two have no chemistry. Every single plot line they have is about how they don't get along and how they have these problems.
Isn't that weird? But is that just, I
just feel like he's the next time
part of straight culture.
well, a friend of mine has pointed out that this is like out of all the new Trek shows, this is like the most aggressively heteronormative show, and it's hard to disagree with him on that. But yeah, it's just everything's a problem. Where are we going to vacation? And at some point, Pike's going to be like, I'd rather have my face blown off than spend another minute with you. Just cut this thing off.
It's also just like, my girlfriend wants to go to Paris. Like, she sucks,
I hate French food. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's too touristy. Is it because one of the 7 wonders of the universe is there? It's like, come on, man.
Maybe the next episode, or an episode next season will have her ship get taken over by pirates, and then he's got to blow it up, and And that's the end of that. I don't know.
He's like, no.
I don't, it seems like, do you feel like it is a factor of, all right, so James Kirk, it's a show that's on in the 60s. This guy's Space JFK. He's going to be out there. He's going to be out there making it happen. You got Captain Picard. He is, a man who is, he's sort of has an internal life. But every once in a while, he meets somebody and it's special. You have a widower in Cisco who can't even think about a relationship. And then he meets this woman that just totally pulls him out of that, right? And then you've got Captain Janeway. Forget about it, which I think is maybe a little sexist. Give her a boyfriend, not Chakotay, but she wants to get those people home. And we won't talk about Enterprise. Do you think they gave him a girlfriend just so he wouldn't seem gay? That's what I'm trying to say here. He's going to be looking at Spock all the time and he's going to be looking back and... Do you know what I mean? Why does he have a girlfriend at all? Who cares?
Oh, I never thought about this.
Speaking of the heteronormativity, he's got a case of the not gays.
When this episode kicked off, I was like, there's a lot of couples on this show. And you're right, a lot of straight couples.
But it doesn't. She doesn't serve any purpose really, other than just to be, Chris, I don't like this, and it's not. It's not her fault. It's not the actress's fault. It's just the character's not written well, and she's literally only there for him to be like, you gotta, when you're a captain, you got to balance the ship and ladies, and you got all this stuff, and it's like, I don't care about that. Why is she there?
Also, she's balanced. How come she always comes to him?
Right. We should be. He should be
Pike's
going to the
never
Cuyahoga.
on her ship. Come
right.
on.
They can't afford to go to her ship. Yeah.
Oh man.
What else? I'm Han Solo. Interesting.
Can we talk about how they gave Kirk they give alternate timeline Kirk the like dead wife treatment with the sheets during La'an's number?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that...
I was like, I want the next video to be him like laughing and pushing the camera away.
Oh yeah.
Him like leading her by the hand.
Black and white, they're running on a beach, and
yeah.
Wait, they never did that. Yeah.
Hang on. He throws her in the water. She splashes him.
I like that it's and also they mentioned Cole Porter at the beginning. I think you can get Anything Goes for a song. Anything goes with Anything Goes. So we know how they love their Great American Songbook, royalty-free music. But other than that, there's no real focus on like the musical tradition. And maybe this is an overused trope in Star Trek, but you'd think like they'd go to the computer and go, computer, look up Cole Porter. Maybe there's an answer here.
Computer, play Singing in the Rain.
And they're seeing things about like, oh yes, the musical, which probably exists in the 23rd century. And that's how they go, in musicals, people do this and they do this. So maybe we should be doing that because we've contacted the musical verse. But instead, it's just complete text. It just comes out, and they just say it.
Yeah, I was waiting. I don't know.
It's astrophysical canon that people sing when they had to get their emotions out.
Yeah, I was waiting for a parody, or God forbid, I was waiting for "I am the very model of a modern major jet." Like I was like,
I think they knew they couldn't go there.
Right before the episode, I almost messaged you and was like, so what are the odds that we get the Star Trek version of I am the very model of a modern major general?
The funny thing is,
thank God we didn't.
Did you watch the credits?
I didn't watch the full credits at the end.
Did you watch the theme at the beginning?
It's with the acapella.
It's like a YouTube one man doing the theme thing. It's like, what?
Huh?
All right.
It's about he's singing.
It's a generational
It's a musical.
It's a generational
thing. Guy's singing.
But yeah, I mean that was okay. I was my list of O's. I thought there was going to be a rap because it's like we live in Hamilton's world, baby. I thought for sure there was going to be a rap.
And I was petrified. I was like, please, and I was so afraid because Spock is the odd one out.
Shit, you got Spock, crew. And I'm here to say,
I know, and I was like, please, my boy, please. Yeah.
And I like I thought for sure the final number was the refrain was going to be "We Are Starfleet," and luckily it wasn't. It was something similar, but yeah, we dodged a bullet there. Yeah.
I don't have one. I feel like not very many besides like Pike doing the. First of all, Captain Girlfriend is so funny, and we whenever we talk about her, you call her that, and so when she was on screen, my roommate was like, "Who's this girl? I've never seen this girl before," and I almost went, "That's Captain Girlfriend. She doesn't matter."
She's Anne from Arrested Development. That's who she is. Her? Yeah. Oh, you know my girlfriend, right. Captain Maria. No. You met her. She's been on the ship before.
Calls her like plant.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be a Marie hog. Yeah. Yeah. Plants coming.
I don't want to be a Marie hog. I don't want to be an Ann hog. Leave her in the Delta Quadrant.
That's gonna stick, I think. I thought this is totally random, but Lon has a mirror in her quarters, and like I don't think a mirror is fine. Like somebody was gonna have you're gonna have a mirror in your room, but it's like one of those like old ass. Is there a story behind this antique oval mirror that she has? You figured that they would just have a wall and they'd hit a button and then there'd be like a mirror thing. But they're like you have to have that shot where a lady's singing but she's looking at a reflection. So get me a mirror. We don't have a mirror.
They like a knickknack though. When the bridge crew in their quarters.
Yeah.
They like
an old ship. Yeah, something like that. I want to see somebody have like a GameCube or something. They're just like, this is an ancient Earth artifact. People kept their lunch in here. Yeah. I think that's just about all that I had to say. Thank God no rap.
For real. This is Lin-Manuel Miranda's world, and we're just living in it. And despite my going on private every time I listen to any musicals, he must be a producer on something I listen to or some soundtrack of a movie.
Yeah.
Because for 2 years in a row, he's been in my top artists on Spotify, which is mortifying. And how does he keep getting in there? Because he's not in my top songs, just the top artist. Don't tell anybody that. Any recent live on air. Don't tell anyone this.
Any recent Disney stuff? He's done that probably.
But is it like this? I just can't figure out how it's happening. I'm hoping this year. Maybe this year he won't be in there. If he is, I have to figure out where it's coming from.
I'll just have to, set it to play Pantera 8,000 times or something like that, and just push him out of there. Exercise him. Yep. I think that's pretty much it. Any thoughts from you?
I mean, next week's the finale. Huh?
You said DS9 would be the musical. I can't believe that Strange New Worlds beat Lower Decks to this.
Honestly, for real. I think it's because it really adds something to have people on screen, to a musical episode.
Tell that to South Park. But yeah, I guess.
I've never watched South Park.
That's a generational thing too. Do you ever see Team America?
I've never heard of that.
Okay. Well, don't let me stop you. You're living your best life, so don't worry about it. Next week is the finale. Any guesses before we wrap up here of what we'll see in the finale?
I think something tragic between Spock and Chapel.
I think that's a fair bet.
I feel like obviously Ortegas will say something snappy that has her own name in it.
I'm gonna jam him up Ortega style.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Maybe Pike will dump the captain. Maybe Captain Girlfriend will die. Who? Her?
Who? Yeah, I don't want her to die, but
God, Arrested Development. They should get those guys to write a Star Trek sitcom that's not animated.
Yeah, like the Golden. How would you do the Golden Girls of Star Trek? It's like the
Star Trek retirement home.
The Starfleet retirement home. Yeah.
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 Pike's like beep, and they're like, "Shut up!"
I heard enough of that, Chris. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not spoiled, but I already know that Pike is going to get some bad news. So I don't know if that is related to to plant, or if or if we're finally going to pick the thread up of him getting his face blown off someday. I'm a little worried with all of this Kirk and the fact that Anson Mount probably likes this job, but he could have other jobs. Let's face it, like he's on borrowed time. I'm worried that we're gonna find a way to do a swapperoo. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. They'd have to set it up. They'd have to set it up
Not
first.
yet. Not after 2. They can't do it after only 2 seasons.
No, but
why is he here so much? Go back to your own ship.
They gotta lay the track, which is something that he's familiar with because of Hell on Wheels. So
my roommate was so funny. She was like, she was like, that man is too old to be playing James Kirk.
Yeah. That amongst other problems, but
she was like, I don't like his nose. I can tell he's had a nose job, and I don't like his eyes. She was tearing it. It was so funny.
A woman after my own heart. I love it. Well, that's it for our show this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when new episodes of our show come out. Tweet to us on the show using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at EISTPOD@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show. Leave us a rating and a review. It really does help us out. And if you like the show, tell a friend and share it on your social media. Discoverage will return next week on August 10th for the finale of the second season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, an episode entitled Hegemony. So there's your clue for next week. What hegemonies exist in Star Trek? The Tholian hegemony, right? Aren't they a hegemony?
I don't know.
Call yourself a Star Trek fan. Anyway, we will definitely find out next week what it is, and we'll be here next Thursday to cover it and going live once again at 8 p.m. Central. So join us then. Follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPOD to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. That's it for this week's show. I don't know where I'm going. Ella, thanks for joining me as always to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. Follow me at Gunter Gold on Twitter, and my other podcast is called Generations Geek.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow Ella and follow Generations Geek. We didn't talk about Lord of the Rings at all, and I'm going to ruin that. I've been slowly, I feel the wound, it hurts again. I think I'm about getting ready to read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings again, because I've been watching a lot of...
it comes for us all.
A lot of videos, and I found a new... YouTube video channel called This Girl's a Gondor, or Gondor, not Gondor Gold, but something
I was gonna
Gondor.
say
a lot of deep lore dives and things like that. And
interesting.
Gonna read all the appendices and I've never read The Lost Tales and all the extra stuff, so maybe we'll just go quit my job, just go all the way through to the end, and then walk into the ocean. Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, you can find me, and if I tweet about that, you can find that at KA1IBAN on Twitter, and all the shows on the Just Enough Trope Network you can find at JustEnoughTrope.com or at JustEnoughTrope on Twitter. And that is it for us for this week. We will see you soon, and until then, live long and prosper.